watching me money for shopping. You super player go!
What's up, super players? Today I got 10 decks you can make for a relatively cheap amount of money, aka you could buy it with your mom's allowance or whatever. So what's the first deck I got for you guys? Jumping straight into the mayhem. We got a $27 deck. It's Goku Black Rose. Amazing card. Most expensive card in this deck is a Playset of Objection. Around $6. So that's an expensive card right there, the Playset of Objection. And a small rundown, I'm gonna do this for every leader. Goku Black, what does he do? Well, you take one of your lives, you throw it out as energy, which is pretty darn good because we're gonna be wanting to throw out as much energy as possible, like throw out as much energy as possible to be able to play our big ultimate Goku Black Rose. That's an 8-drop. But pretty much small rundown and summary. You throw out as much energy as you can, you play your Goku Black, you play your Zamasu, then you fuse them to play your Fuse Zamasu, or if you don't want to fuse and play your Fuse Zamasu, you could evolve Goku Black onto the little Goku Black, pop your opponent's energy, and then fuse to the Fuse Zamasu. And then while you're throwing out energy, you want to be defending your life. That's Goku Black Rose, $27 right here. Go pick it up if you guys want. Obviously, make it expensive by the promos. Then we got the starter deck Goku, what they call him. $26 deck right here, relatively cheap. Most expensive card in here is gonna be the energy boosted Majin Buu. So that's a pretty darn expensive card, $7 for the playset. And small overview, every leader in this deck profiles I'm gonna show you, we want to abuse the leader's effect, so that's why we're going to be abusing Goku's effect of untapping one energy every single time he attacks. So that's why we got 1-drop boost, the most expensive card in this deck. You draw for 1 energy, you could attack, draw, and then, you know, keep the combos going. So we got the blue in here, keep it simple and short. Blue is for pretty much getting resources and eliminating your opponent's resources and awakening, and then the green is for more resources and more offense. The green is more offense, and this is the budget version. This is like the old meta starter deck Goku, but it's a lot of fun. I guarantee you'll have a blast with this. And if you want to make it expensive, get some KOs, get some combos, make that deck into a $300 deck if you want. But then we got androids, 17 and 18, $34 right here for this deck. We got Sensu Bean being the most expensive, running around $20. That's pretty darn expensive. So pretty much an overview of how this deck runs. Android 17 and 18, the leader, like I said, we want to abuse the leader's effect. What 17 does is he gives all 17 and 18's 1 cost down, so they become easier to play. And because they become easier to play, we got cards like Objection here, Whis. Blues pretty much predominantly our defense and ramping, and then our green is all our offense, which is our androids. So we're gonna want to be throwing out energy fast so we can spam out our androids really quickly and then pretty much beat them down to death. And then obviously you want to make this deck very expensive. Throw in the Cell Chain, make this $30 deck to a $100 deck. Be my guest. This is the budget deck for you that want to get started and need an idea. So then we got Frieza. Frieza is the most cheapest deck I got, running around $13. And the the most expensive card here is Whis Coercion, running around $3, $2 actually, $2.50. And then small rundown of this deck, the leader's effect, we want to abuse it like I always say. We want to abuse Frieza's effect, and Frieza's leader effect is you kill one of your Frieza's army, kill one of your henchmen to restand 1 energy and draw a card. So that's why we got a lot of Frieza army members. We got Avenging Frieza, a Pool, you know, we got Dodoria, and all these. These are all Frieza army. So all these guys, you can play them, kill them, and then do the awesome effect of restanding an energy and drawing. And then the blue is in there to help us ramp up, right? Awaken. This guy, this leader struggles with awakening, so we got results of training. We need to awaken. And then we want to play our behemoth cooler over here because he pretty much brings back to life any of your killed Frieza army members. And coincidentally, Frieza killed a bunch of our Frieza army members, so we could keep bringing cards back. And that's this deck right here. This is like a super budget version of the Golden Frieza when it was at its prime and winning tournaments. And then next we got a $30 deck, Son Goku, Super Saiyan 3, awesome card. He's like the meta right now, so this is a pretty cheap deck I made with him. The most expensive card in here is gonna be Saiyan Kaba. Saiyan Kaba, very necessary to awaken, and that's why it costs like $7 for the playset. And then, if you guys don't know, like I said, we're gonna abuse the leader's effect. When the beginning of your turn, his unawakened side, instead of throwing out an energy, you toss one card from your hand, and you get to get 2 lives, throw him out as energy. Pretty darn good. And his awaken effect is what we care about because he untaps 3 energies when you end your turn. So we're gonna want to abuse that effect as much as possible, and that's why we got our blues in here for pretty much our defensive package. And as you guys can see, we got Yajirobe's, we got 10k boost combos, we got the popper for the field popper, and then we got a bunch of red. You're gonna be wanting to throw out red with this deck, and it has the Mighty Mask engine, and the Mighty Mask engine is one of the cheapest engines in this card game. And because it lets you like pretty much keep it simple, this card gives you 2 cards. You attack with him, you can kill him, and you can search out this Trunks Youth and this Goten, add it to your hand, or this other Goten. You get 1 of each, and you get to pretty much abuse that effect. Saiyan Kaba to awaken, and then obviously play your Goten, spam out energy and keep the pressure going, and defend. That's what we got. Topos to abuse Super Saiyan 3 Goku's untapping 3 energies effect. So that's this deck. I think it runs pretty smooth, pretty cheap, and pretty fun for sure. Then a $24 deck, we got Beerus God Demolition. This leader was one of the best in the first set, and it's still pretty darn good. I heard it's still topping in some tournaments. And yeah, the most expensive card in here is gonna be Objection. Why? Because Objection very necessary, because if you guys don't know, we want to abuse the leader's effect, and Beerus's main effect when he's awakened, once you have 16 energies, you automatically win. So with this leader, keep it short, simple. You want to protect your life, throw out as many energies as possible, get to 12 energies if you can ASAP. Play this Whis Judge of Gods. He's a quadruple strike, 40,000, cannot be negated. This guy's gonna do quadruple strike. So you play him, and then the funniest thing is when you play him, when you end your turn, you tell your opponent, "Oh, I end my turn." Psych! It's my turn again, because you get 2 turns when you play this 12 drop Whis, which is pretty darn fun. So as you guys can see, it's a lot of ramping, protection of the life, and awakening, and Zeno button to reset the field if it's all going really bad. So that's pretty fun, good deck for 24 bucks. Then getting kind of expensive, we got a Vegeta for those of you that like playing more aggro. This is more aggro. The last couple decks were more controlling. This is aggro right here. And if you're just a type of player that just likes going all in, we got Vegeta running around 39 bucks. And the most expensive card in here is the playset of Furthering Destruction of Champa, because Furthering Destructive Champa does a massive amount of damage, double strike instantaneous. So like I said, we want to abuse Vegeta's effect. We're gonna abuse his effect. What's Vegeta's effect? Take a life, he gains critical. So because of that, we're having this deck revolve roughly around a lot of double strike Champas. That's why we got the one play Champa to search us out the double strike Champa. So once you get the double strike Champa, you take a life, you make your Vegeta critical, attack, double strike Champa. And then all these other cards help us draw and help us keep the pressure. That's what we got Saiyan Kaba to keep more pressure going. This deck's like hit you hard or go home type of deck. But it's 39 bucks, relatively cheap. You gotta save your mom's allowance for maybe like 2 weeks instead of 1, but you can make this deck. Then another deck you're gonna have to save your mom's allowance for 2 weeks. We got this card right here, Bardock. The beautiful part is you can get a bunch of cards and the leader from just the starter deck alone. But 38 bucks, cheaper than Vegeta. What's the cheapest, most expensive card here? It happens to be Further Indestructible Champa. No biggie, obviously, right? Destructive Champa, same mechanics, same for those of you that like playing more aggro. This one's a little bit more consistent, I feel, and more odds of you winning in a tournament scene. We got a lot of red in here. Like I said, search yourself out the double strike Champas, use Mass Saiyan's effect, middle top 3, play Overrealms, keep the pressure coming. So that's this deck, pretty darn good, and I can see you winning a lot actually, not gonna lie. And then last but not least, we got this deck right here. This deck is not that expensive, it's $31, and Son Goku, obviously. What this deck revolves around with Objection obviously being the most expensive card right here. Objection because you're gonna want to ramp up, and like I said, we're gonna want to abuse our leader's effect. So we're gonna be abusing our Goku's effect. Every energy you throw, he gains 1,000 boost. So the more energies you throw out, the more power Goku has. So like I said, this deck is gonna be running kind of like the Beerus deck and the Goku Black deck. Throw out as much energy as you can to give Goku a lot of power. Play your Zeno, reset the field, and once you reset the field, you pretty much got it, because you have when you're awakened, your leader gets dual attack if you have 7 energies or more. So you reset the field and you just keep swinging, and you're gonna out-resource your opponent at that point because you have a super strong leader that can attack twice. And then I forgot, there's one more surprise deck, and that's Zamasu. Let me go back to show you. Zamasu's gonna be costing around 27 bucks. He's a really fun leader to play, and the most expensive card, no biggie, is gonna be Objection. You need Objection to ramp up as much as you can. And to pretty much make it short, this deck, if you guys didn't know, Zamasu, you take a life, you draw unawakened, and when you're awakened, your life isn't really your life. It's the amount of cards in your deck, which is your life. So in this build, you're gonna want to be throwing out as much energy as possible so you can fuse Zamasu. So in this deck, you throw out Zamasu and Goku Black a lot, and then you fuse and try to fuse as many of these big fusion Zamasus as possible to just drain their life, and worst case scenario, you use Fu to pretty much nullify them and just kill them. That's this deck, and it's relatively cheap, and that's going to be 12 decks you guys can make for 10 decks you guys can make for a relatively cheap amount of money. And obviously, if you want to make it more expensive, go buy yourself the promos. But the promos are what makes DBS card game pretty darn expensive. So let me know if you guys like this type of video. Hit me up in the comment section below. I'll try to reply as much as possible. Shout out to student Elijah, told me to shout him out, so there's your shout out. And make sure you and everybody else stays super.